Hi everyone, and welcome to Autism and Neurodiversity Coaching's Neurodiverse Universe podcast with myself, Ben Holmes from Autism and Neurodiversity Coaching. So today's guest is Michelle Shavdia, who is a ADHD coach. So welcome, Michelle.
Hello.
So as I always do, I'll get straight into it in terms of the podcast itself. So I'm right in thinking that you were diagnosed as ADHD, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. So when were you actually diagnosed?
I was diagnosed in early 2021. So 3 years ago, I think, when I was 37.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you got diagnosed, did someone tell you that they think you've got ADHD, or did you figure out yourself, or how did that process work?
Okay, so it was a bit of a interesting one in my mind. So up to that point, I didn't know what was going on for me, but I knew there was something going on for me in comparison to like my peers and things. But the NHS wasn't really able to help me. They sent me for an autism assessment, and I got told at that assessment, you don't have autism, but you have got something, but they weren't able to tell me what it was, which, yeah. And then, so I was like, okay, so where do I go? What do I do? Didn't quite know what to do. And the NHS wasn't able to really support adults at that point. So I had to do it privately. And I went for a dyspraxia assessment. And it was during that assessment that I got told I have ADHD.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
As well as dyspraxia. But yeah.
Yeah. That was one of the questions I'm going to ask you, so we'll come back to it. But yeah. Okay. And what did the diagnosis of, well, for both of them really, for ADHD and dyspraxia, what did it sort of?
It meant everything to me, because I think everything made sense. So yeah, I was 37 when I got diagnosed. So up to that point, I didn't know what was going on for me. So life was just a bit of a mess and just very challenging. Still is a little bit, but not to that same extent. And I think it's just the knowing, you know what you've got. So then you're like, okay, I've got this condition, so I know how to help that, support that, manage that. Prior to that, not knowing, that was what was difficult, because you didn't know which way to turn, what to do, where to go.
Yeah.
So it basically spent everything for me. It's been life-changing.
It's good to hear. Yeah. I mean, most people I speak to, and most people ask that question too, generally they do say it has made a huge difference. So
yeah,
that's good to know.
Yeah.
And how, I mean, it's a similar question, I guess, really, but how did it, knowing you've got ADHD, how did it change your life?
I suppose how it changed my life was being able to look back on your life in hindsight, and kind of then understanding why it was you behaved in certain ways, why you found certain things difficult. And I think you kind of then realize there wasn't anything wrong with me. It's just I processed things differently. I just had a different way of doing things, a different brain. And it kind of helps with acceptance then. I think before, I thought, oh, I'm a defective human being. There's something wrong with me. Knowing that it wasn't that, very helpful.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And how did your friends, family sort of react or respond to finding out you got ADHD? Was there any particular response you got?
It was mixed. So you might have, I don't know whether you hear this or know this for yourself, but some people very supportive, other people not so much. And some people still to this day question it, and question even that ADHD is real. So there's that, but then they also question it and say to me, oh, I don't think you've got ADHD, Michelle. And I'm like, I've got three different professionals telling me that I have, and one would assume that they were the experts. So, we'll go with that. But yeah, so it's a mixed response. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I mean, I had a similar thing myself, really, but yes, I get that. A lot of people don't know enough about it, so therefore they question it. Some sort of in denial over the thing. They don't want to think it's seen as a negative thing to be. Yeah, so
Yeah.
different reactions, I guess, don't you really?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But for me, I don't see it as a negative at all. Well, we'll come on to that probably, but
Yeah.
I
I know.
find
No, no, absolutely not. I think it's great. I mean, it comes with challenges, but I think
yes,
I'd rather be it than not be it. So
agreed.
yeah. But obviously, people who don't have it sort of have a different perception of it
Hmm.
because they don't live it, and
Hmm.
then there's obviously the preconceptions as well, isn't there, from the past as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So, um, since you've been diagnosed, have you had any support sort of outside of, well, first off, have you had any support from sort of family, friends, or have you had any support outside of that as well?
Um, well, I'll start with outside of that. So first of all, I got my private diagnosis in 2021. Then in 2022, I got an NHS diagnosis because you had to get that in order to get medication.
Right, yeah,
So
yeah.
I had to have another one after that. So
Mhm.
as a result of that, I was put into an NHS ADHD group. So, and that was all online, and that was quite helpful, getting to meet other people with ADHD.
Yeah.
And then I've had a couple of different ADHD coaches,
Mhm.
via one was via Psychiatry UK, and then I got support from Access to Work. So
Yeah.
yeah, varying successes with them, but yeah, there has been support now.
That's good to hear. When I ask that question, I do get quite a range of answers. Quite a few people have had zero support. Some have had quite a lot. So and as I say to some of the others, I think it often depends on where you're based as well, the country you're in as well, as to what you get.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Yeah.
what area where sort of,
Yeah. So I'm based in Colchester in Essex.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I don't know whether that means that I get more support or less, but yeah, it's okay.
yeah.
It's more than
I
I
think,
had before, so that's good.
yeah, yeah, no, it definitely sounds it. I mean, what I found is it can range from literally one county to the other if they're next to each other, just from my experience, um, which is crazy, really. But
That
yeah,
is crazy. Where are you based, Ben?
Derbyshire, so Chesterfield.
Ah. Oh yeah, I know that. I think one of my coachees is from there.
All right, okay.
Nice. Yeah, nice.
But
Lovely.
I'm in Derbyshire, but I'm very close to South Yorkshire as well. So,
Oh,
um,
oh.
and I'm also not far from Nottinghamshire. So
Oh, okay. But and is it true that it's York that it's really difficult to get referred for an ADHD diagnosis?
York, trying to think what's
I've
close.
heard that apparently you have to be in crisis in order to be able to be referred.
Right. I think I've spoken to someone from York, I think. But yeah, and this is the thing, like you say, when I've
It
spoken to quite
varies.
a few people from sort of Lancashire way who seem to have quite a lot of support. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's just crazy how it's different from one location.
Yeah. Mm,
If it was like different countries, I guess you can understand it more. But
not the same country, yeah. Mm.
yeah. So do you do you have any other is there any conditions slash disorders, whatever it is, that you have other than the ones you mentioned?
Yes. So when I got the ADHD diagnosis, I was told I had that. That was the main condition. But I also have traits of dyspraxia and
Mhm.
dyscalculia.
Yeah,
So I've got three neurodivergent conditions. And then I have a physical health condition, like a genetic thing. I
yeah,
won't say what it is because
yeah,
not many people will know what it is. It's quite rare. But I do
yeah,
wonder if it's all linked to everything. But yeah, that's that.
yeah. Um, I think it'd be worth coming back to discal.
Yeah.
You've like a minute. Yeah,
Dyscalculia.
yeah. I think it'd
Yeah.
be worth back to that one in a minute
Yeah.
because
Okay.
it's rarely spoken about. I think. I mean, dyspraxia is. I mean, I've got it, so I talk about it, but most people don't.
No, that's
So
good.
yeah, so next question is, again, I like to ask this one because I get different answers, but do you see ADHD as a disability?
Yeah, good question. Bit of both. I definitely see ADHD as a difference. You've probably heard that before, but I
Yeah.
definitely see it as a brain difference rather than a disorder.
Mhm.
I don't like that word disorder. I feel a little bit. I know it's part of the actual, condition's name, but when someone says you've got a disorder, I don't like that. I feel a bit offended by it, to be honest. So I don't like that. The disability um, bit of both, because sometimes it is disabling to have ADHD. So like, for example, organizing is
Mhm.
such a challenge for me. Like, so challenging, and it takes me like probably triple the amount of time it would take someone else. So that, in a sense, I guess, would be a disability. And then if we compared it to like the way I like to think about it is if someone wasn't able to walk up the stairs because they had a physical health disability, like their leg was broken for some reason,
Yeah.
you would have then forced them to walk up the stairs, or like, hurry up, come on, get up the stairs. Whereas for us, because it's invisible, we're still expected to continue as is, but it's just that bit more challenging. So in a way, yeah, it is a bit of a disability.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I hate the word disorder as well. I do think it will be removed at some point, but I think it will take
Yeah.
years for that to happen.
Mhm.
Yeah, I definitely think it will. It might take 50 years. I don't know, but I think it will do.
Yeah.
Don't know what they call it then. Well, there's another name they can come up with, I'm sure, but just
Well,
technically.
I've got a name for it, but it doesn't have a very good ring to it. But because I don't think it is I also don't think it's a deficit of attention. Don't think we don't have enough attention. I think we have too much attention.
Yeah,
So I think it's more attention abundance, energy difference. So
yeah,
like AAED.
yeah.
um because I don't think it's even hyperactive. Like, I think only 10% of people with ADHD are just hyperactive.
Mhm.
It's an energy thing, isn't it? It's like different
Yeah,
energy regulation. But
yeah,
yeah, like I say, it doesn't have the same ring to it at all.
yeah. No, but I think it definitely needs to change. So, I mean, even if it doesn't have the same ring to it, it's got to be what's right, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be more accurate. And like, what I really love, and I don't know whether you've read this book, but this is my favorite book about ADHD. You read this one? Tom
Mm,
Hartman's book.
no, not read that one. No, no.
Although it says attention deficit disorder on it, but it's a different perception. And basically, what he says is people with ADHD back in the day would have been the hunters of the tribe.
Yeah,
You may have heard that theory,
yeah,
rather
yeah,
than the gatherers. So basically, and I think that makes complete sense. We are basically just, you know, have
yeah.
different strengths and skills in comparison to the majority of people.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just as you're saying that, I think I've got that book on my list actually. As soon as you said
Mm.
gather a bit, I think what was the name again? What was the first name? What was?
His name's Tom Hartman.
Yeah, it is that
Yeah,
one.
it's so good.
Yeah, it's actually on my list to get. I've got a whole list of books to
Yeah,
buy. That is definitely.
same.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have. I don't know if I should share this, but perhaps this is the place to do that. I actually had a bit of a book problem.
yeah,
Probably a lot of people with ADHD have this, where I'd read some of the book and then I'd move on to the next book, and then I'd have another book, and I'd have like 14, 15, 16 books on the go at once, and it was
yeah,
not sustainable. So now I've been told by um, someone who supports me, you need to finish the book first, Michelle, before you get the next book. So I've literally got this long list now of books that I need to get, but God knows when that will happen, because it's going to take me forever to read a book.
yeah. No, I've got the same problem.
Oh,
I mean,
nice. Not just me.
yeah, no, I was. I mean, we're going back like probably 10, 15 years here. I would say I've got maybe 50 books that are unread. I don't even know. Maybe I don't know. I wouldn't like to think. And I mean, some of it. some of them are stored away, some of them are all over the place. I mean, I've got just here, I've got about, I don't know, 5 or 6. I've got The Art of War here, which is very disappointing actually. I thought it was gonna be amazing. It wasn't. But anyway, yeah, I've got loads. Got loads. I've got a few ADHD ones actually. The Think Faster one, I think it was. Can't remember who
Oh.
wrote that one. Think Faster, something like that. Yeah, I've probably got about 3 or 4 ADHD books. I've sort of half read.
But the ADHD books, I love reading them, but they're the worst ones to read in the sense because I guess I don't know if it's the same for you, but I'm so passionate about the subject, it takes me forever to read the book because I'm like, I have to keep stopping and go, oh my God, I need to write that down, I need to like, note that somewhere. So it's
Yeah.
not as enjoyable as like just reading a fiction book because you're like literally every like sentence, you're like, oh, that's important. I need to put that somewhere.
Yeah. No, I do the exact same as well.
Oh, good to know.
You sort of, I don't know if you do, but you get excited reading it as well. So
Yeah.
you then spend like 5 minutes daydreaming about something related to that, and then
Yes.
yeah,
That's true. And it's the same with like ADHD TV programs or documentaries. I'm constantly having to pause it, go, I need to, this is really big, poignant point. So everything just takes me so much longer to do.
yeah. No, well, that is the primary reason why. Well, one of the many reasons I've not finished a lot of books because, yeah, you get too excited reading it, and then could spend an hour just reading like 5 pages or something, just
Yeah,
'cause keep going over the same bits and whatever.
it's true. Oh, I'm glad to have met someone who's like me in that way. I thought it was just me.
No, I mean, I don't know how many others are out there, but there will obviously be others. But yeah, it's a big problem. But then I keep buying more, and I've got a
Mm,
better.
yeah,
I bought a few recently, to be fair, but I'm trying to put a halt on not buying anymore. Like that one you mentioned is on the list, but
yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
don't want.
don't buy it. Don't buy it yet. Because I've learned that because I was the same. It's because we're
Yeah.
impulsive, right? So we're
Mhm.
like, we just buy it straight away. We've got to pause. We've got to put pause on and go, okay, just wait until the time is right, whenever that time may be.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Hopefully it should act as motivation to get through some of the books so that you can buy the next one. But
It doesn't seem to work, does it?
no, I think you can schedule time into doing it, but then
Mm,
something else happens, and it's yeah.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, you need to make time for it, right? You need to schedule it. I need to write that down.
I think you do because, like, if you just say, "Oh, I need to read these books," it's sort of
Mm,
you end up doing something else instead. And whereas if you
yeah.
want to block out an actual appointment, and it might sound daft, but
Oh, you're
uh,
right.
yeah,
That's so good. And also like having a deadline. We
yeah,
love deadlines, don't we? People with
yeah.
ADHD. So if you have a deadline, they're more likely to actually do it.
Mhm. Absolutely. In fact, I've just sort of added because I think a lot you probably do the same, but I've never been part of like a book club, but I mean, I'd imagine they can work, they can help. If you've got a book club, you'll
Yeah,
read the book, and then you've got that deadline there, haven't you? So,
I'm adding that to my list, Ben. I'm learning from this. Join book club. Cool.
right, I mean, we'll probably come back to that another time, but yeah, there's other things I could say, but just thinking for the podcast purpose.
Yeah, yeah.
So next one is a completely random question because I like to do that every
Mm.
now and again. If you have one, what's your favorite color?
I like that question because I love color. I love color. It's very important. Although I'm wearing black at the moment, but that's not my favorite color. But I'm quite a colorful person, so there's quite
Mhm,
a few colors I like. But if I had to choose two, for example, I would choose purple and orange.
mhm.
But then there's like I love blue, I love pink, I love green, I love yellow, I love all the colors of the rainbow. Um, but yeah, color is important to me. It means something. It matters.
Does it make you feel anything like when you look at colors or have colors?
Yeah, yeah. It does definitely. It moves me like certain colors, and it speaks to me in some ways. Like for example, this you see that
Yeah, yeah,
as a
yeah.
coaster, but that to me like that is just joy incarnate in a coaster. All the colors. I don't know whether anyone else would
I,
relate to
w
that.
I would imagine so. Yeah, I mean, I like light blue is my favorite color, but I also like bright colors. It's sort of just sort of gives me energy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do understand that. So another question I like to ask is, it's mainly for autism, but it's also ADHD as well, is do you have any special interests? And if so, what are they?
I do. Well, so the ones I will mention are like, I'm very interested, like, and I think this is an ADHD thing. People with ADHD tend to be quite spiritual. I don't know if you've come across this before.
Yeah.
Tend to be quite spiritual, deep thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm not superficial at all. I'm not materialistic at all, but I'm very spiritual. So I specifically follow something called shamanism. Don't know if you've heard of that, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I'd have
So
to what it is exactly, but yeah, I've come across it in the past. Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of, I'm interested in that. But then I'm also really interested and passionate about the criminal justice system
Yeah.
and like the criminal mind and forensic psychology. I've always had a bit of an interest in that. I'm quite passionate about it for some reason. And like I could watch documentaries about that for hours, like one after the other after the other. I just find it really fascinating.
Yeah, I do know a few people that like the latter, what you mentioned. Well, spiritualism, there's definitely just some people I've come across. There seems to be a connection there, and also from the criminology sort of side of it as well.
Yeah, yeah, criminology, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Criminology. And I also love animals. I don't know if that's a special interest, but dogs, cats, I speak to them as I go, like walk around. I have my own. I love animals. I think they're great. I think they're brilliant for people with autism and ADHD,
Hmm.
like having pets.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I'm not a big pet person, but I would say I'm not in the minority. But well, maybe I'd say the amount of autistic ADHD people I've come across more prefer, really like animals than not. I would say that I've met.
Hmm.
I'd say I'm quite in the not minority. I mean, in the low end for that. But I don't hate animals. It's just I don't. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
have them, and yeah, it's one of those things really. But I can totally see why people um really enjoy being around animals, and stuff like my friend's got a cat and
mm.
makes me laugh in a good way because he's I've never seen someone care about a cat as much as him. But I
Oh,
think
that's cute. But to be fair, like prior to me getting my first cat that I got, I wasn't really into animals. So maybe if you got yourself a cat, then you
yeah,
would become more of an animal person. So
yeah,
it's perhaps because you've just never had pets.
yeah, I'll go along with that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, so another random question: if you could meet any, I put celebrity slash famous person,
Mm.
whatever you call it as, from the
Mhm.
past or present, who would it be and why?
Okay. Well, again, lots, but at the moment, people that I like funny people, people that can make me laugh. So
Yeah,
so the ones that I've come up with are some of whom you may know, you may not. So someone called Olivia Atwood Dack. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she's like I don't I guess you would call her a celebrity. She's like a personality. She does like presenting, and she's got ADHD. So I like her. She's funny. She does like documentaries. And then
yeah.
there's Sam Thompson, who you must know maybe from The
I know.
Jungle.
I
Yeah.
mean, I I try. I used to watch reality TV years ago. I don't like watching it now for various reasons, but I do know about Sam Thompson because he did a documentary on ADHD.
Yeah.
I do know Olivia Atwood because I know she's on that Loose Women and
Yeah.
others. So I'm aware of. I seem to know about programs even if I don't really watch them. I sort of pick up
Yeah.
these. Yeah. Sorry, carry
Yeah.
on.
No, no, but yeah, they're probably not the most cultural choices. But the reason the reason why I like them is because they've got ADHD and they've got great personalities. I think personality is great. Like when people have got something about them, it's really important. So Sam
Yeah.
Thompson, he's great, he's funny. And then he does a podcast with someone called Pete Wicks, and I just love their relationship. It just gives me, it warms my soul. And then there's Rob Beckett and Josh Widdicombe. They're comedians. You may have heard of them. And they
Yeah.
also do a podcast called Parenting Hell. And again, I just love them because they're just so funny. I just find people who are funny the best. So if you can make me laugh, yeah, I'm gonna want to meet you.
No, I can see the logic in that. I think actually, well, I don't think it matters anyway, but so the first two are from your sort of area as well, aren't they? I believe. Am I wrong? Well, when I say area, I mean like region of the country. I'm sure he's from Essex or something like
Yeah,
that.
Pete Wicks is from Essex, and I think Sam Thompson is from Chelsea in London.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where's Rob Beckett from? Is he from down?
I think he's from, yeah, he's down south, and yeah, he is also. So it's possible I could meet them one day.
Well, there you go. So, yeah, and I like to ask that question because I do get a range of different answers with that one. But thinking about it now, I would say the ones who are autistic tend to, I mean, I might be wrong, I'd have to think about this. They're probably more inclined to go for people from the past. Uh,
Interesting. That's
like,
interesting.
like, I don't know. I don't want to say Beethoven because I don't think anyone said that, but people from years ago.
Yeah. Hmm.
And those with ADHD, I'm trying to think now. Have they said more modern people
Ah,
of
that
this
could
last century?
that
Mm,
kind of makes sense, I suppose. Maybe I don't know because obviously I don't have autism, so can't speak from that experience. But from ADHD, because our brain is so fast, we're
mm,
probably already in the future, and we're like here, there, and everywhere, aren't we, in our heads?
yeah,
So that might make sense.
yeah. I mean, like I said, don't quote me. I'm just thinking people I've spoken to in the past, but yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah, there's a few things I picked up on from just talking then. So,
Hmm.
yeah, there's dyspraxia and dyscalculia.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to just talk about those in terms of well, anything you want to say on them, really? So, your experience or what you might struggle with by having the conditions, or what strengths you might have.
Yeah. To be honest with you, so prior to finding out I had ADHD, I thought it was dyspraxia. So I did so much research into dyspraxia, thinking it was that.
Yeah,
And then as soon as I got told you've got ADHD, with traits of dyspraxia, the dyspraxia went out the window and it was just ADHD, ADHD, ADHD. But
yeah,
like I said, I did some research. And I think so what I remember is like it's to do with coordination. So I'm not very balanced. Yoga was always a challenge. I was always falling over.
yeah,
Um, clumsy, that kind of thing. But I think
mm,
it's also things to do with like directions, always getting lost.
mhm,
That's something linked to dyspraxia. So I would always get lost.
yeah,
That can be quite overwhelming. And then
mhm,
the dyscalculia, that's to do with numbers. So if I see numbers, it just looks like a jumble to me. And I would always get into trouble for like invoicing and stuff because it would all be wrong and I'd add things up wrong and my calculations would be wrong. And I would, yeah. So it's a disability, that for sure, dyscalculia.
yeah, yeah. No, that's interesting to know. And obviously, like you say, once you find out about ADHD, that sort of took precedence.
Mm.
Yeah, with the dyspraxia, I mean, I've got dyspraxia as well as ADHD, and yeah, the directions I'm better. I'm still terrible. I'm better than I used to be, but I'm still terrible with directions generally.
Mm.
I think I've just learned how to manage it better, I guess, in the sense of if I ask someone for directions and if they give me more than three different directions in one go, I know I'm automatically gonna not remember that. So I'll try and think, right, if usually I can remember the first three. So then I'll remember the first three, then I'll get to that point and I'll ask someone else again
Hmm.
for another set of
Yeah,
three. Do it that way.
exactly that. Yeah, and I guess it's linked to ADHD, but it's like because of the executive function being impacted, but it's like because we can't plan and organize our thoughts very well, so that's why we find direction difficult.
Yeah.
But what that means though, as a strength, it means that we're again similar to the ADHD, very creative in our thinking. Oh, like our thinking is much more kind of innovative, bit like different perhaps to other people, which might be quite linear, whereas for us it's a bit more like that. And that might explain why we're not very balanced because we're kind of all over the place.
Mhm.
But yeah, there was a lot of positives from it, but yeah. And I think time is also related. I don't know whether it's related to the dyspraxia, but it's definitely related to dyscalculia. I don't know if you experience time blindness and issues with time management, but
Yes.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And
Yeah. Okay, go on, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, time is like a weird concept to me, because it's like, I don't know how other people do it, but I definitely don't plan my time very well. And it will come up to like whatever it is I'm supposed to do, and I'll do it literally right at the very end, whereas everyone else will have probably done it like 2 weeks ahead. So
Yeah,
that's a challenge. And then budgeting, I don't budget. I just spend, and just, I just live.
yeah, yeah. There's a few things there. Just on the latter one, the budgeting one. Yeah, I found that's common with ADHD when I've spoke to others. Very much so. Just the impulsive spending, or the yeah, just not managing it properly, and needing support with it.
Yeah.
But then still always managing to get by, usually somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
And
always
then
works out, but not in
yeah,
the typical way.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think with the time management, yeah. I know that's common with a lot of people with ADHD. With me, it's an interesting one because I've got ADHD, dyspraxia, and autism as well. The autism is for me very good in that sense, but the ADHD for me is very bad.
Yeah.
Dyspraxia is bad, so I sort of yeah, it depends. I can go through phases where I mean some things I tend to be late for in-person meetings. Um, yeah, usually 5, 10, sometimes 15 minutes late for in-person meetings. Unless there's like an urgent, like you have to be here. If you're not here at this time, you're not getting on that plane, that sort of thing. I can do that. In fact, I'm the opposite. I'm then there extremely early.
Mm.
Um, but other things, if it's something like, well, oh, we'll meet around 10 o'clock and it doesn't really matter, then it might be like 10 or something like that, or 10
Mm.
past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must be really interesting. Like, how, so, because I work with some people who have autism and ADHD, and it's like, because they are kind of the opposite ends of the spectrum in
Yeah.
some ways, aren't they? And
Yeah.
I presume, correct me if I'm wrong, but people with autism tend to be quite punctual, I would assume, like
Yeah.
very, and it would stress them out if they were late. But then people with ADHD are a bit more laissez-faire, a bit more, you know, often late to everything.
Yeah.
So how do you, how is that for you?
Yeah. Well, it's like I refer to it like having two brains, basically. You've got, as you've described it there, literally those two things. And
Yeah.
I think it depends whichever one wins at the particular time. But I think what comes in the middle of that is how important is this thing? So, like I said, with the plane thing, if it's plain, then the ADHD sort of accepts that
Mhm.
we've got to be there at a time, and the autism wins in that sense. But if it's anything else that's not that important, um, yeah, the ADHD sort of takes over. When I play football once a week, got to be there. Well, we start at 8 o'clock, and more often than not, I'm there at 8 o'clock or like 1 minute to. Um, I keep telling myself I don't. I want to get there 10 minutes to or 5 minutes to, just so I can take some pressure off myself. And
Mhm.
it just I say that I need to leave at, let's say, 7:40. I'll leave at 7:40. I'll have plenty of time, but I know I can leave at 7:45. And then what I end up doing is leaving like 7:47 or 7:48. I'm like, right, I need to really put foot down now. And it's like, why am I doing that? Um, so
Yeah.
yeah. And then my anxiety says, well, if you're going to be a bit late, then it doesn't look very good. So then I get anxious about it. And I'm like, well, why am I doing all this to myself? So
Mm.
yeah, it's it's a I find it funny having both. I find it very funny. Very frustrating, but I also really like it as well. So
That's good.
yeah. Then
Yeah.
obviously I mean, I've got OCD as well, which is another thing just to throw in the mix, and then dyspraxia and anxiety and stuff. But yeah.
Mm. Yeah,
Um,
and they're all neurodivergent conditions, aren't they? So,
yeah, so sorry, go on.
and I was just going to say, like, yeah, it's like under the same umbrella, so it kind of makes sense that you'd have a few of them. They kind of cross over and overlap.
Yeah. I mean, despite all that, I think the one that gives me the most trouble is dyspraxia. Purely from a practical side of it. I mean, obviously, like getting lost and stuff is bad, but manual dexterity, that sort
Yes.
of that gives me more problems.
Forgotten about that. Like, I've ended up in A&E before because I've like, like, what's it when you have to do like a tin opener?
Yeah.
and I cut my back there, my hand. And that
Right.
was loads of blood. Yeah, so yeah, manual dexterity is a thing, isn't it? Like I struggle like to open things, and it's a problem.
Yeah. Do you struggle with those what are they called? Them child things on like tablets and stuff like, you know, you've got to push the top down and
Yeah,
turn. Do you
yeah,
struggle with
I do. I do.
yeah.
Yeah. Anything that requires a bit more effort. I'm like, oh, hell. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an arm of that. So what so you got diagnosed obviously later on in life.
Yes.
What was it like before diagnosis? Um I mean that's quite a broad subject. So you've got like your school, you have school education, university, that
Mhm.
sort of side of it, and then like going into the working world. What would you say has been experienced from
Okay.
there?
All right. So school, I was primary school, I was a naughty child in inverted commas.
Yeah,
Um, I was I was perceived to be, I was always getting into trouble with teachers and parents, and being told, why can't you behave like that child over there? Why can't you be like that child there? Like, just don't be you, be them. I was like, oh, great. So that was my, primary school. Then secondary school, as a result of probably that, I kind of withdrew into myself and became quite introverted because I was being told you can't be yourself, you have to be someone else. So I was masking.
yeah,
I was pretty, I wasn't very, I was pretty bright. I was like fairly academic. So I did well, and then managed to go to university. But I found university very difficult, very challenging. Like, good God. It's like throwing a fish out of water.
yeah.
So like, I was like, I was trying to think what it was. I was a bit like a deer flailing around, not like really knowing what to do. And so I just would self-medicate in order to get through it.
Right, yeah.
It wasn't good. And then employment, similar, struggled. Managed a job for, I managed to be employed for probably about 7 or 8 years, but with a lot of challenge. And then almost got fired. I think I have been fired once, perhaps, or let go. Um, and then in the end, I had to resign for that job, and then I became self-employed, and
Mhm.
that is the only way I can be, really. I can't be employed.
Yeah.
So yeah, my life was a bit of a mess, and it was very chaotic. However, I was quite successful
Mhm.
to look at me, but actually behind the scenes, like I said, rabbit in headlights, deer flailing around. It was all a bit messy. So yeah, interesting times.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, similar thing really. I mean, I didn't go to university because, well, for various reasons, but I didn't think I was clever enough at the time. A bit of a weird one where I lived because like all my friends were quite intelligent, really, but very laddish, and it was like, what are you going to like? I mean, I didn't want to go anyway, but it would have been like, oh, look at him thinking he's going to university, that sort of thing. And I didn't have any interest in it. I didn't want to move away from home and stuff like that and all that. So, not that you have to, but obviously that's what I thought you had to do back then because there's no one really told us about university in terms of how it works. It just so you go to university and it was the perception was you have to move out and cook for yourself. And as someone who's got dyspraxia who struggles with cooking, I thought, oh, I don't want to do all that. So yeah, obviously work wise, I've been fired. I don't know how many times, and stuff. So then, yeah, I can't work for anyone else either. I mean, I can work with people really
Mhm.
well, but
Yeah,
not for people because of
no,
how it's set up, really.
yeah, agreed. Yeah, same.
Um, so yeah, so you talked about your school. That makes a lot of sense as well in terms of. Again, I was a bit like that as well. When you So is it almost like when you was a very young child, you was more yourself and
Hmm.
therefore not naughty, but you just had all
Hmm.
this energy or whatever it was you was different,
Yeah.
fit into what people wanted you to be. Then it's like, oh no, I'm a bad person, so I've got to mask all that.
Yeah.
And then later on in life again, you think, oh, actually, no, I don't have to mask.
Yeah.
I can be myself again.
Yeah. That's exactly it. That's it. Like, that's very insightful. And that's actually kind of, yeah, made me think about that. But that's true. Yeah. When I was a child, I was probably more myself than ever. But I had a really wild imagination. I remember that. and my friends being a bit scared of my imagination because it was so wild, so different. They were like, oh, what the hell? I'd have come up with all these like amazing stories in my mind and like ways to play games and stuff. And my friends were like, you crazy. And then I remember getting in trouble all the time because of my humor, which I thought things were funny, but clearly not. And then I'd get told off for that. Just, yeah, basically I was getting told off for just being me. So I was like, okay, well, I can't be me then. I'll have to be like someone else. And but now I think I'm going back to being me again.
Yeah, no, that's good. And yeah, I think a lot of people similar to us in that sense sort of go for a similar path. I mean, I do find, yeah, some of the ADHD males I've spoke to who don't have anything else, quite a few of them sort of really struggled in school for being classed as naughty or getting kicked out and that side of it. But yeah, I think no, I can resonate a lot with that really. So yeah,
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 sad.
uh, yeah, no, definitely. It is. You have to live 20, 30, whatever it is, years of your life not being your proper self. And even then, when you do unmask and stuff, it's hard to be completely 100%. You might get up to, I don't know, 90% or something because you're operating it like, I don't know, 30, 40%. I don't know. But and then you shoot it up because it's like, I can be myself now. But then again, I can't really be exactly myself. I mean, some people can. The ones that actually 100% can is amazing. But then they end up, they will offend a lot of people just because of that, just from being blunt or saying what they think, etc. So yeah, it's a very interesting subject, and I sort of, because everyone says be yourself, but they don't really mean that. Or even if they do mean that, oh, be yourself, and then you are. It's like, oh no, don't be yourself that much. Just be a bit of yourself. So
Yeah, that's true. But saying that though, I don't know whether it's the same for you, but like when I'm around people, I want them to be themselves. Like I do say that, especially because I work with a lot of young people. I'm like, just be you, like be yourself. But I appreciate what you're saying because like some people when they say that they don't mean it. But I
yeah,
actually would rather they were their authentic self and said what they wanted to say and got it out because
mhm,
otherwise you're not able to connect, are you, with the person because they're not being themselves. It's
yeah.
like very difficult.
No, I completely agree. I mean, I'm more sort of referring to, I suppose, the like the workplaces you live past where they don't encourage differences, basically, where
Mm.
you fit into one box, sort of thing.
Mhm. Yeah,
Uh,
they don't encourage individuality, do they? They just want everyone to be the same,
yeah,
like sheep.
yeah, exactly. And there's one thing that makes me laugh actually coming out of all this, in terms of my own experience, is which makes me laugh really when I speak to some autistic people who don't have, again, this is just a generalization, but generally autistic people don't have ADHD over things, and they're very blunt and sort of don't have the same social skills as say someone with ADHD. I can tell a difference in not all of them, of course, but some of them.
Mm.
If I ask them something and they'll just say yes or they'll say no, and they'll be very blunt. And then because I masked for so many years, I was trained to think, oh, that's rude of him. So then I think that's a bit rude, but then I think actually no, that's exactly what I want him to be like, because that's what I want to be like myself. So then you have to then think in your brain, okay, so my real self likes that. The pretend self I had for 20, 30 years doesn't like it. It's like, okay. So I just find it amusing when I speak to people like now because it's like relearning who you are again, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's interesting. Mhm.
Um, so a few of the things I was going to touch on. So,
Mhm.
uh, particularly with the ADHD side of it, is medication. So I think you touched on that briefly before. I like to ask this one because again, I get a mixed response. What are your thoughts on medication for ADHD?
So my thought on it is just from my personal experience, for me and what I've experienced is I don't see it as a bad thing.
Yeah,
Um, I don't, there's definitely, for me, I don't think there's any shame to it.
no,
And for me, from my personal experience, it's helped me. It's been helpful. But like the first one I took, I noticed a difference. Obviously, you have to then, titration and all that, like the dosage and stuff, and get it quite, so it's just quite right. But yeah, it's been a game changer for me. And it hasn't really, I don't think it's dulled my personality. I think I'm still just as sparky, but I'm just a bit less all over the place.
Mm.
I'm much more grounded, maybe is the right word to use. My
Yeah.
emotions are much more regulated. I'm much more clear in my thinking, much more focused. So, like I said, for me, I don't know whether I would say I wouldn't be without it, but because some people say, oh, you shouldn't be dependent on it. But then I
Yeah.
guess it's like it helps me. So why would I not want to take it?
Yeah.
But that's my opinion. But obviously everyone's different, and you know, like I can't say it because it works for me, it will work for you. But why not try and see and then make a decision for yourself? That's my perspective. What's yours?
Yeah. No, I found that really, really interesting. Well, it's funny because, funnily enough, until I started doing these podcasts, really, my opinion was very much against it. Purely because um, I don't like having medication for anything, really. A headache or doesn't matter what it is, I don't. If I can avoid having medication, I will do. So
Hmm.
it's the same principle with that. But also, I was concerned about it. There's all the, I don't want to say negative, all the struggles that come with it, like you've described just then.
Mhm.
Um, not thinking as clearly and focus and all the rest of it. But then there's also the strengths that come with the ideas and etc. etc. And
Yeah.
it's a catch-22 a lot of the time because you get all these amazing ideas, but sometimes you don't want all these amazing ideas because you want to be able to focus on whatever it is. So
Yeah.
I kind of don't. I always thought I didn't want to have it because I didn't want it to. Oh, there's a word I've used in the past. I can't think of it. Like not stifle, but along the words of that, like stifle
Mm.
your creativity and
Yeah.
rest of it.
Yeah.
That was always my stance before. But I mean, I've done well, literally, including this one, the last three podcasts I've done, I've asked this question, and they've all said basically the same answer in a different fashion that
Okay.
they're for it. Um, all three just had ADHD, and I say just as it well, no, so you've got dyspraxia and stuff.
Mm.
Um, I'll re-clarify. All of them had ADHD, but not autism, as far as I'm aware. Whether that makes a difference one way or the other, I don't know. So yeah, it's interesting. So it's been an eye opener because obviously I have my opinions. There's some things I have opinions on I'll never change, but the more I speak to people with ADHD who say exactly what you said there, it makes you think, okay, if I did have it, um, would I be able to focus that much better and not have all these things whizzing through my head? I mean, I presume you still have plenty of things going through your head, but is it just that it seems more the perception again, it's more calmer and sort of not quite as frantic, or
Yeah. That's exactly it. It's a bit
yeah,
more like I'm never going to be like a neurotypical person and be logical in the sense that like you do one thing after another. I still do things kind of a little bit like this, but before I took medication, I would literally do things that were due. Say I wouldn't know what order to do things in, so I'd like do something that wasn't due for like 3 months now, and then I would do something. I wouldn't do something that was due tomorrow, and I would just leave that. So like my thinking was all a bit skew with.
yeah,
But like you said, you're right. Like I used to have fantastic ideas, and it would just be constant. But it was sometimes it was a bit overwhelming, so many, and I was just a, I was just a bit chaotic, I suppose. I was a bit like I would just speak and I wouldn't think. I would just blah, 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 it would just come out, and I would just act on everything I would
yeah,
think, and I would just be here, there, and everywhere, which wasn't good for me because it meant that I was just wasn't really, I don't know, I wasn't really doing what I wanted to do. I was just kind of like, someone would say, do you want to do this? I'd be like, yeah, sure, why not? Like I would be so impulsive,
yeah.
too impulsive.
Mm.
Um, but what I would say actually is, as a downside, I would say I was more successful pre-medication in some ways.
That's
some ways,
interesting.
and I had more friends. Now that I'm on medication, because I'm more kind of calm and rational, perhaps thinking things through, I don't really reach out to people as much.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but before I was always, you know, always contacting people, but now I'm like, no, Michelle, you must rest. You must look after yourself. So I don't know, is that a good thing? I think maybe it is a good thing.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Yeah, so you kind of, yeah, no, you've definitely explained the benefits. You've also, I guess, highlighted a few of the concerns I had, I guess. But other concerns, like with the friends thing, you could argue both cases, whether it's good or bad. With the successful thing, obviously, but then again, depends what success. I mean,
Yeah.
what does success mean exactly? I guess to different people. So there's that as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah.
Uh,
But I can become more successful again, I'm sure. Like and I feel more successful now than I used to. But I think there was a period where I think when I first started the medication, I don't know whether it was that or what, or the ADHD diagnosis, where I think I just noticed that, you know, I used to have like 12 jobs. I used to have like, typical ADHD. I was doing all the things. And it definitely, I think what the medication does is it slows you down.
yeah. Hmm.
That's what it's done. And I think that is a good thing, but yeah, the jury's out.
Yeah. No, it's again. I think it's such a hard one. Like if you'd have asked me however long ago, so many months or a year or two ago, what I don't know, whatever it was, I'd have absolutely said no, no chance in hell. But yeah, it's one of those. I mean, I can also speak for me personally. I think it's such a hard one because yeah, I kind of it's weird because some of the thoughts I get constantly really annoy the hell out of me, but they also make me laugh at the same time. So it's like I like having them sometimes. But I'm like Ben, just stop doing that now, and then I laugh at myself for doing it. So I don't know, but then if everything's more controlled, I've not got that as much. It's like I might miss it, but then the deficit side, would I know I'm missing it if I'm on medication? I don't know. It's like I like being in complete control of myself, I guess. So it's whether you lose any of that or if you're still in control, it's just that you feel better, I guess, is the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Well, similar to you, I wasn't going to take medication. I think I just wanted to know what it was. But then
mm,
I just thought to myself, well, why not try? Like, why not give it a go and see how it makes you feel? Because if you don't try, you don't know. And then I tried, and then I was like, oh, this is really good. This is, and they say, I don't know if it's the same for you, but because of our brain, it's obviously we take stimulant medication. So things like coffee, I drink a lot of coffee, that to another person would make them quite anxious and quite jittery. Whereas for me, it calms me down. So the medication, it basically just calms you down. And that's good. It's good to be like that. It's good to be
yeah,
calm.
yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, um, yeah, it's something to look into,
To think
definitely.
about, yeah, think about. If you've got any
Yeah,
questions, you can ask me.
no, I probably will actually. In fact, no, I will actually. I'll probably ask quite a few people if I go down that route because
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I do know people who've tried it and then come off it and come. So I suppose you can. It's not like once you're on it, you're hooked on it or anything like that, is it?
No, it's not like antidepressants. That's
Yeah,
different. Whole different
yeah,
ball.
yeah. So that's good to know, I guess. I don't know. I mean, is it? I don't know what. I mean, again, I've not looked too much into it because I was always against it. But is there an option of taking it for periods and not taking it, or do you think it's something you either have or you don't? I don't know if there's that side of it as well. I don't
Well,
know.
the psychiatrist person told me that you can just like take it during the week and then not have it the weekend. Yeah, there is that possibility. You don't have to take it constantly. So
Yeah, yeah. That's. I mean that. I mean, I'm not recommending anything because I don't know enough about it, but that
yeah.
actually could be an option for
Hmm.
those who are sort of a bit like me, I guess, really. But yeah.
Hmm.
So a few things I'm going to ask before we start wrapping it up. Well, first of all, if there's anything else you particularly want to mention about ADHD or anything we spoke about, please do so. Um,
I guess it's just basically just the message that I want to put out there is it's not something to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
And also that there are so many misconceptions still about what ADHD is, and there's a lot of stigma around it, which is possibly why people feel shame. And actually it's not accurate, it's not true. Like what the media and science told us that ADHD was actually wasn't accurate at all. And they're coming to realize this now. And they're now saying, oh, actually, it's not just, hyperactive boys, it's inattentive boys as well. And it's also girls. Girls can also get ADHD, shock horror. So, all those girls that were like me and got completely missed are now being diagnosed. And yeah, and it's not a trend. Like people often say, oh, everyone's got ADHD these days. No, they haven't. It's just they were missed when they were children, and that's why we're having to catch up now. So that is it. And I do think it's something to be proud of. I know you kind of said the same at the start, like you wouldn't be without it. Neither would I. I'm very proud to have ADHD.
Yeah. No, I think that's good to hear. Yeah, and most of us speak to are proud of it, but it's good to reiterate that fact as well, I think. So yeah, I think you've done, I suppose. I mean, is there anything you want to mention with your work, really? Because we've not touched on that too much. So your work, and also, I think you've done some research publishing, I think.
Yeah, that was many moons ago. That was like when I was doing my because basically how it happened. So I went to university, did psychology, then I did a master's in coaching psychology, and then did some research then. So I got qualified in coaching psychology. So I'm a psychologist in that respect, but I now specialize in ADHD because I have ADHD. And what I would say is, again, this is my personal experience. It's best to, if you're going to go looking for an ADHD coach, to go for someone who has ADHD rather than, there's going to be so many people who, I'm sure there are great coaches who are coaching people with ADHD, but if you don't have the brain itself, it's so much more difficult to understand it. You're never going to fully understand it unless you've got it yourself. So, and I'm working with like children from the age of 7 up to adults. But I would say my niche is young girls really seem to resonate well with me, like teenage girls and younger. I seem to have good rapport with them and connect with them. And I think it's because you can understand. Understanding is key, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than having just learned about it from a textbook.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's what I do. I do ADHD coaching, and I do that face to face. I do that online, and then I also do ADHD awareness sessions.
Yeah.
For those who have it, who think they have it, parents, family members, because I want to raise awareness into this misunderstood condition because it's still very much, misunderstood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that, and I do think personally, I think it's better if you've got a coach who, like say, has the same condition. I don't want to exclude anyone, and that's not what we're saying, is it? But I do think it is better. Yeah, I mean, having someone, again, there are people out there who haven't got it who are good, but like I say, you've got the instinct. It's just you go through the same sort of things, so you can just have that connection a lot quicker, I guess, can't you?
Exactly that.
So start to wrap it up, but is there any final thoughts you have? There doesn't have to be. Yeah, is there anything else you wanted to mention at all?
No, not really. I guess just if anyone still would like to know more, I'm all for people following me on Instagram at Find Your Spark ADHD. That's my preferred way of communicating via social media is Instagram. So that and yeah, I'm here to help as many people as I possibly can, because the reason why I feel like I went through all the pain and suffering that I've been through and all the challenges is so that I can now help other people who might be going through that, so it's not as painful for them. So whatever I can do to help you, help your child, help whoever, let me know. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, no, brilliant. That's good. So yeah, thanks for being on.
You're
Really appreciate
welcome. Thank you for having me on. It's been fun.
No problem. And thanks for everyone for listening, and we'll see you again soon.